Really excited today to have Robin Jones here from Bar 3 Corvallis. And I am Stacy Kazanchuk. I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, exercise physiologist, and the director of Genev's Health Coaching. And this topic today, the workout for Michelle Obama's generation, is so timely with the launching of her movie Becoming. Robin, you're going to hear her story about how this all connects. And it really does come back to how women of Michelle Obama's generation, of this perimenopause, postmenopause phase, can find movement to support their body. So Robin, great to have you here. Robin is a friend of mine and the owner of the Bar 3 studio that I am a part of. So really excited and really appreciate your time. Can you introduce yourself and tell us about you for our audience?
Yes. Hi, Stacy, and thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you today. It's really quite an honor to get to share what we do at Bar 3 and kind of how I got there. My name is Robin, and I am the studio owner of Bar 3 Corvallis here in Oregon. And I came to be here serendipitously, frankly, because I was looking to scratch my own itch. And I was born in San Diego, and my husband was born and raised in Corvallis. And at the time that I found Bar as a practice, we were growing two small businesses, and I was really looking for a way to break up my day and move my body in a way that felt good. And I discovered Bar because all these studios opened in San Diego, kind of one after the other, and fell in love with a space that had an amazing community. And that is something that really resonated with me. And one of the things that no one tells you really about business ownership is that it can get really lonely. And so you're working here on your laptop all day long, and you're trying to plan all these things. And sometimes you just need a break and meet people and talk to people. And for me, scheduling my Bar class midday was exactly that. So I would go take class, and I would get to meet like-minded people and move with them. And so quickly, my practice became something so much more than exercise. And when we ended up moving to Corvallis in 2012, I really felt the need to bring this practice to this community, because if I needed something like that, I felt like somebody else out there probably needed it too. So after a long while trying to figure out how to make it happen, in addition to having two other small growing businesses, we worked it out and opened in 2014. So I'm really excited to be here, and really the community piece of Bar 3 has a lot to do with why I love it so much. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Robin, giving that background. And I will attest to the fact that you have an amazing community there. Definitely part of the reason that I am part of your Bar 3 studio. The workouts are obviously great, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but having that community and that support, and if anything, now more than ever, that community is so important. So, so thank you for 6 years ago creating something that's so supportive today during a pandemic still. So appreciate that. So I definitely want to hear more about your story and what you've learned in the 6 years of being part of Bar 3. But I wanted to go into the title of our talk today, because when I first reached out to you and told you about Geneve and asked you to be a part of one of our webinars, you shared this amazing story of getting to actually see Michelle Obama as a part of Oprah's tour. And I'd love for you to talk about this connection and why we're talking about Bar 3 as a workout that Michelle Obama's generation could do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I had the privilege of going to see Michelle Obama when she was doing her Becoming tour here in Portland. And then had, again, the privilege to see her in early this year, February or so, in Brooklyn when she was touring with Oprah's 2020 Vision Tour. And she's just inspiring to me on a lot of different capacities. But particularly what stood out for me when I saw her this year was when Oprah asked her about what she appreciated most about her body. And obviously with like the work we do at Bar 3, you know, her answers was like what really resonated with me. And what she focused on was just about loving her body because it was hers and hers alone. And that she really tries hard not to judge it. And she really tries to honor it and to realize that it's changing, right? And I love she had said, that our bodies are living things, and so we're not machines, and that we need to fuel it, and we need to feed it, and we need to take care of it, and it needs sunshine, and all these wonderful things. Because if we don't take care of it, then our body starts to fail us as we age. And it seems so simple, but when she puts it in those terms, it's like, yeah, that's exactly right. Like, our bodies are changing as we age, as we grow older, as we develop. And my body today at 40 is not the same as the body that I had at 20. And I think that so often a lot of women try to create this sort of future unattainable goal of like, I wanted my body to be like it was when it was 20. And I love what Michelle Obama had said at the time, because she likened it to being 20 years old and trying to fit into your overalls when you were 10, right? Like, it seems so, like, obviously, like, no, that's like unrealistic. Like, why would you ever want to do that? And she said so often women have that mindset. Like, I want my body to be what it was like pre-baby. I want my body to be what it was like, when I was in my early 20s. And what I love about what she said is that what really she focuses on as far as wellness is just appreciating and loving her body as it is in this present moment. And she talked about specifically, like, her body at 56 is so different than her body at 36. And so why should I try to move it in the way that I moved it when I was in my 30s? Because now I'm in my 50s, and what it needs today is just so different. And I felt like that was such a healthy mindset.
Yes.
And I feel like that's certainly, I myself included, have battled those thoughts of like, oh gosh, you look at your pictures from before and you're like, why, oh man, I wish I could look like that again. And then you realize, well, like, why? I mean, my body has changed so much, it's experienced so much. So like, why not just honor your body as it is today? So I really love that piece of it.
No, that's so important. I think, working with women in peri and postmenopause, it's a hard time. Not only is your body changing, but because of the hormonal changes, that can also change how you're feeling day to day, moment to moment. And that those are some of the conversations I have with my clients, is really about, okay, what having them understand what is happening. And it really does tie into that dynamic that dynamic process we go through as humans, and especially as women, and especially if you have had children, like you've experienced some of these dramatic changes of your body, and menopause is another one of those. And you bring up such a great point, in that movement is still important. Movement can still have so many benefits, from health related benefits to mental health, to just being able to provide that balance and support, but it may not look the same, and that's okay. And I think giving people permission to explore something new and different can be scary because it's new and different, but it can also be exciting. And when they find what works, can really be helpful.
Oh, completely. And I think that's the other piece of what Michelle had said, is she's like, I have to find my own balance, and I have to walk my own path. Right. And I have to know what that looks like for me in my present moment. Right. So I may have ran marathons when I was younger, but that's just not what my body needs right now. And that's just not what I need to do with it right now. And I think that's like the struggle, right? Because we can also overdo it. We can also like diet and exercise really hard and look a certain way, or weigh a certain amount. And then, but at the end of the day, our bodies are like broken inside because it's not what we need. Right. And I think that's so much of what I love about bar 3, is that it really is just adaptable to different bodies, changing bodies, and that every day the practice is different. It feels different, and it gives us space to be present in our bodies and to realize, this is what I need today, or this is not what I need today, and then to modify and adapt to what we need today. So.
Yeah, no, it has really a great balance of a lot of different things. For our audience members that may not know about bar three, can you give us a breakdown of what does it entail and what is the approach so that it really is for everybody that wants to try it?
Yeah, no, definitely. So bar three is a full body balanced workout combining strength conditioning, cardio, and mindfulness. And again, like what I really love about bar three, it's low impact movement. And so it allows us to age gracefully without pain, which is really important as our bodies change.
Hmm.
Our movement really it embraces listening to your body, right? So we offer lots of ways to adapt, to modify. You can take it up a notch, you could take it back a notch, depending what you need. And again, like every day is different. But also it's like a movement that focuses really on like the feeling and movement creating joy and like what that feels like in your bones and your muscles. And it isn't about you need to do it this specific way and it's regimented. And if you don't do it right, then you feel like you failed in some capacity. It really isn't about that. So I love that because it releases us from this pressure of like that future unattainable goal, right?
Hmm.
Like, so if I can hold a plank for 5 minutes, then, oh yeah, I finally like have achieved this some pinnacle of success. Like bar three isn't about that. It really is about tuning inward
Hmm.
and listening to what your body needs. And hey, like if you can hold that plank for a minute, then awesome, good job, feel that success and feel what that feels like to feel strong in your body. But
Hmm.
if not, and you need to modify, you need to come down to your forearms or something other position that feels kinder where you can also feel that same level of success, good for you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I love that. Those are the different elements of bar three that I'm really proud of. And then the last bit of it, is really that mindfulness practice, right? So instead of just doing as the instructor does, it really is like listening to what you need
Hmm.
and being really truly present in like the muscles you're working and what you're doing and why you're doing it. So really being able to educate our clients on how this benefits their body for functional movement every day, I think is a big part of what we do. So
Yeah, such a holistic approach. And I love the mindfulness piece when that was added a few years ago. I'll be the first to admit that I am not going to do mindfulness practice, even though I know the benefits of it, unless someone's telling me I have to do it. So incorporating it into a class is genius. And I look forward to that 5 minutes at the end where I have permission to focus on my breath, to slow down, and to breathe.
100%. And what I feel like the value is there is that we still have an opportunity to educate, right, on that piece of like why mindfulness is important and how it can serve our body physically. Like it isn't just this like ethereal woo woo, like take a moment to clear your mind. Like it isn't really that. That there are actual physical benefits to focusing on breath.
Hmm.
And that's an educational moment, right, in our class to give clients that space to do it, to but also to explain like the benefits of lowering anxiety and stress
Hmm.
and lowering your blood pressure and allowing your like diaphragm to expand and contract and create like elasticity there, right? Versus
Hmm.
like so much of us are used to kind of sucking it in, you know, like
Yep.
holding our belly in and not allowing it to like be mobile because like, oh, we got to like fit in these jeans and we've got to, you know, look a certain way. And we've lost that ability to like mobilize our diaphragm. So those like very physical reasons to practice mindfulness, I think is definitely an educational bit for us to continue to share. So.
Yeah, no, it's such a
Mhm.
great way to incorporate it in a way that's tangible too. Sometimes mindfulness, automatically people jump to, oh, I have to do an hour of meditation. I'm going to get
Yeah.
bored. My mind's going to wander. I can't do it. Then I feel defeated. So it's no, it's 5 minutes of what you can do. And even those 5 minutes, and can provide benefits, especially when you start to do them over time.
Mhm.
And especially for women with menopause, I mean, that the mindfulness practice can help with hot flashes. The exercise can help with hot flashes. It can help to support sleep. Everything's all connected, and it can be a great simple way. It's
Mhm.
economical. You don't have to pay anything for it, and you're just focusing on your breath. So I think that is a really great piece to add to that.
It's so simple, right? But it's like it's so simple, but we often don't do it.
Hmm.
And I love
Yeah.
the thing about breath work. It's like the one function in our body that happens both consciously and
Hmm.
unconsciously, right? Like we breathe when we're alive. We don't have to we do it even if we're not thinking about it.
Right.
We also have the power to control it, to like harness that and like manipulate it in a way to better serve us. It's like
Yes.
so amazing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and it's something that's very easy to take for granted
Mhm.
that, we're just going to breathe on our own, but by providing that additional support, we can enhance our body's efficiency of every breath, by retraining it a little bit.
For sure. For
Um,
sure.
can you also share one of the other things that I think bar 3 is really helpful for, especially for women that are either starting an exercise program or restarting? And with menopause, there can be more joint pain. The decreasing estrogen levels can result in more inflammation. Sometimes that appears in joints for some women, and that can make them fearful of starting exercise. Can you also talk about the structure of how bar 3 has been put together with professionals? It's not just, that, oh, here's the workout for today. This sounds good. That there's methods, there's training, and there's a method to the madness in terms of how the workouts are built.
For sure, 100%. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of, to be part of a franchise who has so much of a commitment and investment in research and development on the body,
Hmm.
right? So, bar 3 has always been low impact to be accessible, and we focus a lot on isometric holds,
Hmm.
which is where the muscles are taxed at its maximum, and all you're doing is simply holding, right? So
Hmm.
you're sitting in a chair, or you're in power leg, or you're in a horse pose, a wide turnout position, and it's like a moment of stillness, right? Your
Hmm.
body is working really, really hard. And then we layer in the small range of movement. So it's like a 1 inch range of movement, which when people hear bar, they're like, oh, it's those tiny little things, that you feel so much of a burn, but it doesn't look like you're doing very much.
Hmm.
And that is like an isometric hold with a little bit of release, really is what it is. So your muscles are working really hard, but you're giving it a little bit of a break every time you move.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, we layer in dynamic movement, right? So that ability to flush out the oxygen and blood back to the muscles that need it. So we layer in that kind of strategically, that 3-layer process all throughout class, and we work the entire body. So it's really
Hmm.
efficient. So we heat the cardiovascular system, we open up our hips, we open up all the joints, and then we move into these elements where we like work the leg muscles, and then when we work the back body muscles, and then we work the core, which is abdominals and glutes,
Hmm.
and then go back to like breath work, and then move our body in ways that you don't normally move your body, right? So like laterally,
Hmm.
so important to move your body 360, so that when you do functional things at home, like garden, and you're like turning and twisting and all these things, that your muscles are there to support you
Yeah.
in the ways where it can prevent injury. So.
Excellent. So many benefits there, and that translation too to everyday activity. And bar 3, if you're someone that wants to train for a 5K or some type of athletic event, bar 3 can serve that, but its foundation is in those everyday movements so that you can enjoy life, that you can feel good doing lifestyle activities and enjoy the workout too, because there's certainly, again, coming back to that community and that connection that you have in that 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, one of my proudest things is that our oldest client today has been 81, was 81.
That's
And our oldest
great.
is 14, right? So to like have an offering of a practice where
Hmm.
you can give someone who's in a place where they can feel successful in moving their body, equivalent to a 14-year-old, or we've even had Olympic athletes in our studio. It's like, to be able to offer something of that wide of a spectrum, I
Hmm.
think is such a gift to be able to share, because everyone can feel successful in the practice, can feel challenged in the practice, but they're doing it in ways that are very different looking, right? Like it
Yes.
isn't just like this one, gotta do it this way. So I
Yeah,
love that so much about.
that's awesome. Yeah, no, I think it serves a wide range of people. Well,
Mhm.
Well, Robin, with your 6 years of working here or opening the studio and getting it established, and you talked about your story in terms of why you started Bar 3. Now, as you look back, and with what you have learned, did you imagine 6 years ago that this would be the journey that's unfolded?
Certainly not. No, for sure. It's been such a wild ride in the best way possible.
Mhm.
And what I've learned in the last 6 years has like absolutely nothing to do with like business or with comfortability. I mean, and this is like one of those things, right, where I do it, and I'll speak for my team. We all do it. We do because we love it.
Mhm.
And so there's a reason why we're all motivated in that capacity. And I think for me, I've learned so much about the power of the collective spirit, and in particularly right now in this moment where we're engaging with our clients on a virtual level, right? We don't get to interact with them like we normally do. There's so much power in like the ability to help each other mentally and emotionally
Mhm.
when we are doing things together, right?
Yeah.
And even scientifically, the power in the joy of movement and how moving together, even virtually, can stimulate joy,
Mhm.
right? And so that has been such a big learning for me. I mean, obviously, like I opened the studio because I wanted a place to work out, and then I got all these ancillary, beautiful benefits out of being able to be the owner, right? I have this wonderful community and all these amazing friends, and um, but then going back to owning the studio for 6 years, I think I also learned that investing in people goes a much longer way
Mhm.
than investing in things and widgets and whatnots. And that's always been kind of my primary driver is my team. And when I say invest in people, I don't mean money. I mean time,
Mhm.
right? And really getting to know the people who you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
I think goes a long way as far as like even personal emotional benefit. And
Yeah.
so that's been really beautiful. Um, I've learned also that like everyone has like an inherent native genius, and sometimes you just need somebody else to remind you or to tell you or to open your eyes to what that is.
Mhm.
And so I've had the benefit of being able to do that for other people, and I've also had the benefit of being able to receive that and realizing for myself like some of what are those things are. And so that's been really beautiful. So yeah, lots of things I've learned from Bar 3 that I didn't think that's what I was going to get out of it. And
Yeah.
um, I think too, just learning to accept like and be happy for my body for how it is instead of
Mhm.
criticizing it for what it's not. That
Mhm.
was a big learning for me as far as like fitness, right? Like
Yeah.
I think early on when I first opened the studio, um, a lot of self doubt, a lot of, well, I've never done this before. I've never taught fitness. I don't know how to teach exercise, and a lot of self doubt of I don't look like the typical fitness guru. Like I don't have those abs. I don't look that way. You know, there was a lot of self doubt there. And I think there was a lot of self criticism of
Mhm.
like, I don't look the part. So I
Yeah.
certainly can't be successful in the part. And that was a big learning for me over the last 6 years of like, you don't need to look a part. Like
Mhm.
you have the ability to make an impact without looking a certain way. And then even though it's still an everyday practice, that like self-criticism has gotten quieter.
Yeah.
And so I think that's been a beautiful gift for sure.
Yeah, that's great to hear that you've been challenged in that way and then have really overcome that. And it reminds me of I still remember the moment of when I had gone to the Bar 3 in the Vineyard event in June, but I think it was June of 2018. I think
Yeah.
it was 2018, and you were leading an exercise class for like over 100 people out in this vineyard, which was amazing setting. Hopefully we'll get to do that again someday.
Yes, I hope so
Um,
too.
but I remember specifically you mentioned you telling us that when we were doing an exercise, and again, these exercises that are small movements, no one be fooled. If you have not tried them and you're like, no, I don't do small movements, it's too easy. try to hold these small movements for an extended period of time. They get really hard.
Mhm.
But you brought up the fact that we have the power to change the conversations we have with ourselves in our head. And that just always stuck out with me. It was at a time where I was having particular challenges, and it really hit me to say, no, I can change this conversation. I have complete control over this. I may not know exactly what the outcome's going to be, but the conversation here and now, I can work on changing that. And that's always stuck with me. And someone who does also appreciate challenging my body through movement.
Mhm.
I like how that can translate into other areas of my life. And now working with women in menopause, that it is a challenge. It's really hard when you really feel that you wake up the next day and your body is different,
Mhm.
and those feelings are real. And having to challenge those conversations can be really difficult.
Mhm.
Can you share some of how you challenge your conversations as over the last 6 years when those doubtful voices were louder than they are now?
It's a practice. It is hard, and every day I think I'm reminded that we still have a lot of work to do, right?
Mhm.
Like I still feel like so many people, or I guess self-awareness is like one piece of it for me. It's like when in those moments when I have those tendencies to be like, that was not the best of what I have to offer, and I start to spiral into like self-criticism. I just create this like moment of self-awareness of like, okay, I'm feeling that,
Mhm.
right? And I'm having that thought, and then I have to like separate, right, like my thought from like, okay, what's reality, right? So like, yeah, maybe that class wasn't how I wanted it to be, and I whatever, like it wasn't perfect, and that's okay. And I think I just like I allow myself to just become aware that I'm having these thoughts.
Mhm.
And it's not that I like, it's not an exercise really of like, okay, Robin, stop thinking about that, right? Like it really is just like, okay, have the thought,
Mhm.
like that's fine. And but just know like that thought doesn't define you. It doesn't define who you are. It was a passing thing. Like you didn't do what you expected to do in that moment, but that moment is past, right?
Yeah.
Like it's over. That was a temporary thing, so like move on. Like I
Yeah.
think to for me that, but it's taken a lot of work, like
Mhm.
self discovery work, for me to get to that point where I'm just like, okay, you can still have that thought. And then oftentimes I just reach out to girlfriends and be like, like yesterday I had reached out to Veronica and Rachel, and I'm just like, you know, there's just some days you're just sick of the sound of your own voice. Like I like taught last night, and I'm just like, I'm just sick of the sound of my own voice. And I had planned to say certain things, and like for me, often if it doesn't resonate, I won't say it. But there's just those moments, right? And so for me, I reach out to my friends and I'm like,
Yep.
hey, this is how I was feeling. It was kind of feeling funky.
Yep.
And, you know, they're just like a sounding board, and they help me realize again, like, okay, that's fine that you feel that way. But the
Mhm.
reality is probably it doesn't translate that way, or people do want to hear what you have to say and things like that. But so creating awareness, I think, was like the first part of
Uh-huh.
like I'm having these thoughts and not letting it control like my behavior. And then also having good sounding boards, right? Like
Yeah.
that community piece, those friends again who
Mhm.
you could be really vulnerable and honest with and say when you have those moments and those thoughts, hey, I'm kind of feeling kind of funky.
Yeah.
Is that real? Is that not real? Okay. And if they tell me it's not real, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like acknowledge that wasn't real, and then I'm gonna move on, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's okay to have those feelings of self-doubt every so often. It
Mhm.
just, I mean, it's natural, but then if you have a healthy community, healthy people around you who can be your sounding board, and if you can just not beat yourself up so much about it, right? I think that's the biggest thing. And then again, like what we practice we get really good at. So if I keep practicing that, hey, I'm doing enough.
Yeah.
I'm doing fine. I'm
Yes.
okay, right? Even the simplest things, like if I can keep just practicing that, then I think it like ends up being better. But it's like we still have a lot of work to do, right? To
Yeah.
help other people have those
Mhm.
reflections, and to help other people feel really comfortable that there isn't this future unattainable goal, and that where
Mhm.
you are right now is okay. And if you're feeling a certain way today, it's okay. And it's a temporary passing moment.
Yeah. No, I love that. Those are all such great reminders. And I think, the one of the things we're doing here at Genève is we want to change the conversation around menopause, that it shouldn't be this dreaded, shameful time of a woman's life. We're
Mhm.
all going to go through it. Every woman does, every woman has. And that piece, I think you talked about building the community, is also really supportive for women to, even though every woman's menopausal experience can be unique, knowing that other women are going through this or will, and having the courage perhaps to be a little vulnerable, and like you shared yesterday with your community, of sharing, this is how I'm feeling right now, and then have that conversation of, well, is this real? And in menopause you really are probably feeling that right now, but it can pass, and menopause itself is not forever, so there is that time through it. But the power of talking about it, I think that's what I've seen so much with women, is let's just talk about what's going on. It may not go away, but just talking about it turns down the volume. It gets it out of the head.
100%. And I think
Yeah.
that shared experience, right? It
Hmm.
requires us to be vulnerable, to have these shared experiences. But to your point, like helps you realize like, hey, this is normal in
Hmm.
some capacity, or other people feel that, so it's okay. And
Yep.
oftentimes that's the biggest thing, right? We fight like this idea that we're the only ones feeling this way. It's like
Hmm.
this, and this notion of like lonely, like I'm the only one going through this particular thing. And with menopause, I can imagine, right? It's like I'm the only one feeling these things in my body. I'm the only one experiencing these changes in my body. When the reality is, it's like, no, like a lot of women who are going through menopause probably have felt the same way. But like to your point, we don't talk about it enough.
Right.
Like we don't share that enough. And
Hmm.
so people feel like they're alone in that experience.
Right. And the loneliness ends up being more detrimental than sometimes the symptoms, depending on that. Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
100%.
Well, and anybody that's listening, we do encourage more conversation, especially among women, about all of these things. We've had a couple of questions, or a question and a comment, come in. So the first one is a question that says, she says, or they say, they worry about osteoporosis. Do you have any specific help or suggestions, and what Bar3 can do to contribute to that, or
Yes.
help with that?
Yes, I would say mobility, 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 right?
Hmm.
So moving your body in all different directions kindly
Hmm.
is the most important thing, right? So my mom has been in Oregon with me here for the past month or so, and she's been taking my classes with me at her own pace. Right, and for her, achy bones are real, arthritis is real, joint pain is real, and the ability to, I think, move your body kindly on a regular basis helps to lubricate the joints, and to move the body helps to kind of get things going. And so I would say to think about different ways to mobilize your body that are kind, right? So lots of stretches, a lot of gentle like side body leans, some gentle squats. I mean, there's just so many ways to think about opening the body
Hmm.
in ways that are different from how you normally function, right? So for a lot of us who are sitting at laptops all day, we have really like tight front bodies and really loose back bodies. So really opening up the body in that way that counterbalances how you act every day, I think is really helpful.
Hmm.
But again, being really gentle with yourself when it
Hmm.
comes to that type of thing, and knowing, hey, it's okay to do something in an adapted format, because then
Yeah.
that's a little kinder for your joints. So.
Yeah, and with the osteoporosis related to bones too, I'll also add just you're doing an exercise that you can continue to increase the challenge if it feels good for you on that day to do that. And by increasing that challenge on your muscles pull on the bone, which
Mhm.
can help to maintain bone density that you have. Depending on how old you are, you may or may not be able to really build bone right now, but I think one thing that's always important to point out, osteoporosis, while it is a thinning of the bones, the major concern with osteoporosis is falls. Typically, you can have osteoporosis and walk around every day and be a normal walking, living person. But it's when you fall and you have those frail bones that it becomes problematic. Now with bar three, as Robin was just talking about with the mobility, if you're training to move better throughout the day, and bar three also incorporates balance, then you're also less likely to fall. So even if you do have osteoporosis or osteopenia, you're decreasing the risk of fractures from falls. So again, big picture in terms of how you approach some of those conditions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Another one on the same line. Oh, and then someone had pointed weight training and impact have been proven to strengthen bones, and that's absolutely correct. The stress of the weight training certainly can be helpful, and then there is times where you're incorporating jumping or plyometrics in class, and that's definitely great for bone building as well.
Mm-hmm.
Another one on hip soreness. This person's a runner and sitting all day. My right hip is killing me. Any ideas on what they could be doing?
Ooh, yes. I love hip opening things. We do a lot of this in class. A crescent lunge is always great. So 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. It just, I guess I could demonstrate if you guys can see me. It's kind of like your back here. You're in a crescent lunge. So one leg is forward and one leg is back. And it really helps to open up this side of your hip, that pelvis. And it really is just a simple hold can help a lot. That for as far as hip soreness, and then like figure four stretch to kind of have that piriformis, also a good stretch for that. Mm-hmm. But crescent lunges is like it's like the yummiest way to open up your hips, especially when you've been sitting all day, and to get from a crescent lunge into like a lunge where you bend your back knee also can help with additional mobility through the hip, through the pelvis. So I would highly recommend doing some of those, just getting to that posture and holding.
Excellent. Great suggestions there. And of course, a bar three workout. There's another option. And this person sends you deep gratitude, Robin. This is a wonderful message. She says, thanks to bar three, I am so much more strong and comfortable today in my 63-year-old post-menopause body than I was in my miserable menopausal 50s. Bar three is my family, physical therapy, and deep joy for life. Thank you. So a very happy customer and proud community member there. So great to hear those testimonials as well. So another question, and this could lead into perhaps what you're doing right now. So this person wants to experiment, or for people who want to experiment with bar three for the first time, are there any YouTube videos you would recommend? It's a little intimidating to join a studio with other people, even if it's just online right now. And do you need equipment? So if you can speak to those things.
Yes. So if you go to bar3.com, there's a lot of like 10-minute free workouts on there that they offer on our online platform. So it's a good way to just check it out and see what it's like without committing to or taking a full class. You don't normally need any equipment at all. We just use our own body weight in a typical class, and particularly 10-minute things. Also, we have live Instagram 10-minute classes on Fridays at 3 p.m. So that's a great way also, like no one can see you. You hop onto your phone or your gadget and you can pop in and just check out what it's like. And every week we focus on something different. And so it's a good way to kind of get an experience of what bar three is without that commitment. And again, those are usually without any props as well. So no real need for that.
And then if they do decide they want to join bar three or do it more long term, what equipment can be used if they want to bring that in?
Yes. So we typically use a set of weights, and I encourage anywhere from like 3 to 5 pounds, nothing really heavier than that. A core ball, which you can get from our studio or online in our store, but it's just kind of a flexible ball that we use to create some instability in some abdominal work, or to encourage some sensation-based postures when we place the ball between our inner thighs and whatnot. So that's always useful. And then we also have like a resistance band that we utilize in classes every so often. Again, all of these are just tools to help you get deeper in your body to connect to the sensation. And so none of them are actually necessary to join the class or to even feel like you're successful in our class. It's not necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Well, nice to have that variety. So it can be great also if you're traveling, you don't want to have the equipment, still want to be able to do some of those online things, or if you're home or eventually in a studio and you want to be able to incorporate those.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Robin, you've touched on this a little bit, and I know it's a mission of Bar 3 globally to redefine fitness. So how do you see that specifically applying to women in the peri and postmenopausal 40 to 60-ish range, age range, and what that looks like, and how you see that progressing for them?
Oh, for sure. So like I said earlier, like bar 3 really is just a different form of movement, of exercise. And what I mean by that is that like for too long, fitness has been focused on these external measures of success, right? So you exercise to sculpt the perfect body, or to fit in those skinny jeans, or to hit some like target weight goal. And at Bar 3, really, we define success and fitness as being balanced in body and empowered from within. And to me, that ties into, you know, the mature woman, in that we have the ability to let go of these notions of, I want to look how I was before, right? Before babies, before this injury, before when I was younger, whatever it is. And a lot of those conscious thoughts stem from the fitness industry saying we have these external measures of success, and you're only successful in fitness if you accomplish these things. And that's the beautiful thing about Bar 3, is that we're rooted in kind of redefining that, what success in fitness means, right? And really encouraging feeling good in your body as your measure of success. If you feel balanced, if you feel like you are empowered, that really is our measure of success. So for women whose bodies are changing, much like Michelle Obama, right, going back to that, the ability to honor what you need in the moment and to decide, this is how I need to adapt it. Today, I feel great and I'm going to really lean into the dynamic movement. Awesome. Or today, you know what? I have had a really stressful week and I need to lean into the breath work and the mindfulness movement. The ability to cater the workout specifically to what you need in your changing body without any future end goal of like, I'm doing this because. I think that's the biggest added value, particularly for this community here, is you take back that control of like why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think that's so powerful at this age, right? And to be able to say, hey, I'm going to do it because it feels good versus I'm going to do it to check it off the list and say I exercised today.
Yeah. And thinking of, and that process too, that checkoff list, we can sometimes get tired of just checking things off. And so if we're not finding joy in doing it, that checkoff becomes more and more tedious and we're less likely to continue. And so many women that I talk to, so they want to find something that they can do sustainably long term. And we all know when we enjoy something, we're way more likely to do it. Hanging out with friends and seeing people that we look forward to, that's way easier than having to do some tedious task or something that you don't enjoy.
Oh, totally. And I think that was the biggest shift for me, and why I love what we do here, is because that was how it was for me. I started going to the gym at 12 and was checking off the box. Okay, I worked out for 30, I did the cardio for 30 minutes. I did the weight machines for 30 minutes. Check, check, check. Never spoke to a human in the gym. Like it was always a to-do, right? Like something I have to do because I know it's good for me, but I hated every second of it. Right? Like I didn't enjoy the experience of exercising and moving my body. And so when bar 3 came along, and I was like, wow, like I enjoy the fact that I can hold a plank for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
like that feels really good to me. And I don't feel depleted at the end of a class. Like I feel energized and inspired. Like that feels good to me. And then
Mm-hmm.
the added bonus of like familiar faces and friends who hold you accountable because they see you in class, like that feels good to me, right?
Yeah.
And so it completely shifted like my need and obsession to like exercise for the sake of exercising into I'm going to go move my body because it feels good, and or I've been sitting on my laptop all day and I need a break, and I,
Mm-hmm.
I need an energizer, and that's what I'm going to do is go exercise. So it's like different thought process behind the
Yeah.
why you do it. And so
That's excellent. Yeah, I think that's so important for people to hear, that there are other reasons to move your body and you can define it for yourself. And it really
mhm.
doesn't matter what other people or an industry is saying. It's all about what feels best for you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
For sure,
awesome.
for sure.
Well, before we finish up here, I am curious if for you, or would like you to share with the group. You mentioned that certainly this pandemic wasn't predicted in your 6-year business plan. I don't know if that it was in your business plan 2 months ago, but it is now. And can you talk about why bar 3 and movement right now is so important during this time, and what you and your studio are doing with it?
Oh, yes. Gosh. Movement to me is like really healing, and it gives you like that moment of like reset, right? And so, but fundamentally it's like it's energy. It's
Mhm.
like energy that we need to move. And when we're stuck at home and when we're limited by where we can be and what we can do, it's like the ability to move that energy is really important.
Mhm.
So for me and with bar 3, taking those breaks of like I'm going to log on to a class because now I can do it live streaming, which is awesome, is such a great way to move that stuck energy, right? Because like we can so often get so stuck at our computers, and then or listening to the news or doing all these things, and you just need to hit the reset button and
Mhm.
release that energy. So oftentimes it's either for a moment of pause, a little stress release, I'm getting a little anxious, I need to move, or it's like I have a lot of energy and I need to move it because like I'm used to being go, go, go. And now like I'm not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So, like I need to move that energy. And what I love with bar 3 is like, you can turn it up or you could dial it down for whatever
Mhm.
you need in that moment, right? And so it's effective, right? So if you feel like you have an excess amount of energy, like hop onto a class and like toe tap it out. If you're feeling like I just need a break and a moment of calm, I am just going to sit in that like mindful stretch and breath moment for a little bit longer, right?
Yeah.
So the flexibility, right, in a class to be able to offer both, I think has been so helpful. And what I love about this, like, again, ancillary bonus of virus is that we've been able to live stream and to reach people so much further beyond our
Mhm.
Corvallis studio. I mean, clients who've left and moved are now back, and clients who are intimidated to come into our studio space because it's intimidating to try anything for the first time, like you said. Now they can do it from the comfort of their home. They can turn off the camera if they're not comfortable with it, and there's like no pressure. It's like no
Yeah.
pressure. And now there's less barriers to entry. And so
Mhm.
I feel like that's like my invitation is like, now's the best time to try it, right?
Yeah.
Like why not now?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's such a good point. It brings, while it doesn't have that, while the in-studio experience is on pause, it provides a new experience for everyone, and can be more inviting for a lot of people. So that's great to hear the reach as well, growing that community,
Yeah.
um, all around.
Well, that's the best thing about it, right? It's like we have so many clients who walk. I mean, Corvallis is such a rotating door. It's like we have
Mhm.
people come in and go out, and we like get attached to them, and then they leave, and it's like so hard, right? And but now we've been able to like see old friends, like all these connections we've made over the years. It's like
Right.
hi again, and it's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I see it on some of the ones I've been on. There's more people on the Zoom screen than you could probably fit in the studio. So there's
Yeah.
an increased capacity.
Yes, no. And what I will say is that live streaming isn't going away, even when we reopen our doors. So
Okay.
that's beautiful. It's like this beautiful gift we've been given as a result of all of this, right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, before we close up, I'm going to give one last call for questions, either in the chat, the Q&A box, or on Facebook. And while we're waiting for those, Robin, if any of our participants who aren't already a part of Bar 3 Corvallis want to be part of Bar 3 Corvallis, how can they do that? And how could they reach out to you if they have questions?
Oh, yes. Please, please, please do. I would love to see you guys all virtually and meet you there. You can DM the studio directly at Bar 3 Corvallis, or you can DM me directly at Mrs. Papa Jones. And your first class is on me for free. So yeah, shoot us a message. I would love for you just to experience it and decide for yourself like what that feels like in your body. Always happy to welcome new people. And then also we're hosting a really cool thing. It's like a mini retreat at home. So in lieu of having our summer class, like you were talking about earlier at the Vineyard, we are going to do the same type of thing, but from home. So Thrive at Home on Sunday, June 7th. So that's also a great opportunity. Proceeds from that will go to the Oregon Food Bank.
Oh, great.
So if you're looking for something fun to do on a Sunday, join us on that. That'll be fun. A good also way to experience Bar 3.
Excellent. We have one other comment here. This person says, this has been awesome, such incredible energy. It makes me want to do Bar 3 just for the happy energy and uplifting attitude. And then another one, I'm so grateful for the live streaming classes. They've saved my sanity. So that mental health benefit right there of reminding us that even when we're cooped up in our house, we need to still move. So important. Well, any other final remarks on this topic that you would like to share, Robin?
I guess what I want to say is that we have this unique opportunity right now to shift those conversations we have with ourselves. Just like you talked about that moment, a couple of years ago when I had said that we have the opportunity to control like our conversations with ourselves. And really, I encourage all of you to focus on gratitude for our ever-changing bodies, right? No matter what age you're at, teens to your 20s, or 20s to your 30s, or 30s to your 40s, or menopausal, right? Like our bodies are always changing, and instead of criticizing it for all the things it can't do, to really think about finding that gratitude and that space to honor it for the things that it can do or has done, right? Like if you've had babies, wow, like how amazing, like your body was able to do that. Thank you. If you've run marathons and you've been able to cross that finish line, like how amazing. Tell your body thank you. Even if you can't do those things today, like that's amazing. And to focus on that gratitude instead of the criticism, right? And reinforcing the negative kind of self-talk that is like really easy to succumb to. And to just continue to embrace that, like our bodies do this incredible work to propel us forward. And so we should just really embrace our individual paths and reflect on our strengths and not our deficiencies. And then be really purposeful on how we carry that message, right? Like what we say around future generations. I like so often think about when I've had the honor to teach at like Corvallis High School and whatnot, like to me that those moments are like so important, right? Because we can learn these things about ourselves, and then we have this like unique opportunity to share that and pay it forward to future generations so that they're not battling with what the fitness industry has so often ingrained in our minds, that we're not enough. That they grow up in an environment where they're told they are enough, and that they don't have this self-doubt that then later they have to like comb through and figure out, right? Like, so we have such a unique opportunity to change those conversations with ourselves and with everybody else. And to remember, we get really good at what we say and do repeatedly, right? Like what we say and do repeatedly. So why not make those good things?
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. That's so great. And I think it again all ties back together. It's coming, with the work that Genev's doing around menopause, is that our goal right now is to focus on the current population in menopause, and part of that is the conversation's not going to change for future generations if we don't focus on now. So I think all comes together full circle here. And thanks for your inspiration from Michelle Obama. So check out her Becoming movie that's launching this week, or already has launched, and then but just those messages that we need to hear more of that, especially right now, of what focus on what we can do, what we can control, and that building that community, because we are all in this together.
I love that.
So we had one last comment that says, thanks to Robin and Stacy for such an inspiring afternoon chat. So glad that we could provide that for everyone. This was amazing. And Robin, thank you so much for your time. It's nice to be able to do this with your schedule being a little less travel heavy right now.
No, it was such an honor and such a pleasure to get to chat about all the things I love about Bar 3 and all the ways that it can help support, our changing bodies. So I'm really excited about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, just to remind everyone, we also, for those of you that may not be familiar with Genève, we offer telemedicine OBGYN services, primarily focused on supporting women in peri and post-menopause, and it's all telehealth. So you can be anywhere in the United States. We're in 48 states right now. We're working on getting to 50, but you can have OBGYN services over the phone or over video. And then I offer the health coaching services. So looking at things on the lifestyle side of how you can help to manage menopause symptoms, a lot of what Robin talked about here today, and finding the movement that works best for you. And while I am a proponent of Bar 3, if you're saying Bar 3 is not for you, well, then let's talk about other forms of movement. So there are other options. Bar 3 is one of them. And then looking at nutrition, sleep, stress management, and really maybe most importantly is that accountability. That's what I provide, is that resource to be able to hold you accountable supportively to implementing things that make you feel the best right now. So keep that in mind. Head to our website to check out what those offerings for our health fix and telemedicine services. And next Thursday, we will be back here with talking about women business owners. So another woman business owner, actually for Handful Bras, Robin may be familiar with her. Yeah. So Jennifer Ferguson is going to be talking with our CEO, Jill Angelo, on coming up with companies that are specifically made for services for women. So Jennifer Ferguson is the owner of Handful Bras out of Portland, Oregon. It's a sports bra activewear company. So we'll be talking with her next week.
She's awesome, and I'm wearing a Handful bra right now.
There you go. That wasn't planned. So, all right, great. Well, thanks again, Robin. Really appreciate your time.